Sometimes all it takes to create something new and different is to be inspired. The following slideshow features quotes from extraordinary people from many, many different walks of life and disciplines who knew something deep about what does it take to create. My name is Mitch Ditkoff. I'm the president and founder of Idea Champions, and my hope is that this brief presentation will inspire you to go beyond the status quo and accomplish extraordinary things. Let's begin. William Blake said it all. What is now proved was once only imagined. Whatever you are conceiving of doing, whatever ideas you have for the future, new products, new services, new ways of accomplishing your ambitious goals, it begins in the mind. It begins in the imagination. So trust that. Honor that. Antoine Saint-Exupéry, the author of The Little Prince, a pile of rocks ceases to be a rock pile when somebody contemplates it with the idea of a cathedral in mind. So much depends on the vision. If you have a big, bold, compelling vision, the rest will come together. If you have no compelling vision and only have a strategy and a to-do list, well, it'll be tougher sledding. So be willing to come up with that big, hairy, audacious goal, that vision, often which is embedded or hidden within a single idea. Steve Jobs, I want to put a ding in the universe, and he did several times. The question is, do you want to put a ding in the universe? Do I? And if so, what does that look like? And are you willing to make the kind of effort and enter into that often chaotic and ambiguous process out of which new things and new possibilities emerge? Henry Ford, I am looking for a lot of people who have an infinite capacity to not know what can't be done. I invite you to associate with people who believe in what Henry Ford is talking about. Surround yourself with people who aren't bound by old assumptions, old paradigms, old ways of looking at things, lines in the sand, and contemplate the new, the glorious, the never been tried before. That's how innovation gets its start. And it's not all about hard work. I know it requires a lot of perseverance. I understand that. But it also is a lot about play. This from Carl Jung. The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct arising from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the object it loves. Meaning, if you're not enjoying the process of creating something new, if you're not playing around with possibilities, you need to pause and ask yourself how you can infuse your project with a bit more playfulness. It will go a long way. It's not always clear. We often run into ambiguity and paradox. We get stuck. We can't figure things out. Niels Bohr, Nobel Prize winning physicist. Now that we have met with paradox, we have some hope of making progress. So don't worry if things aren't clear all the time, if your ducks aren't all in a row. It's good for your ducks to be scrambled. Allow them to get discombobulated. Allow paradox to be what it is and stay connected to your vision of what's possible. Microsoft is never more than 2 years away from failure, said Bill Gates. It's still true, maybe truer today than ever, as Microsoft's monopoly and dominance in the marketplace has declined. But all of us are subject to the same law of nature here. What you're doing now might be obsolete not only next year, but as things accelerate 6 months or 3 months from now. So always be looking to the new, always be willing to adapt and adjust. It's often, innovation that is, a private affair. It requires reflection, slowing down, staring out the window, contemplating, or as Victor Hugo said so elegantly, a man is not idle because he is absorbed in thought. There is a visible labor and there is an invisible labor. So don't worry about looking busy all the time. Let yourself dream, let yourself muse, let yourself daydream, let yourself just relax sometimes without having to feel so compelled to be proving yourself all the time. Eleanor Roosevelt, you must do the thing you think you cannot do. Yes, this is where it gets interesting, folks. There are certain things that seem impossible, and yet that is often the cusp or the beginning of where greatness is waiting. So, should you be thinking that your efforts, some of them, are impossible, don't dismiss them as such so quickly. Allow yourself to entertain them and start asking yourself how you can make it possible, even if it seems difficult. The lightning spark of thought generated in the solitary mind, said Thomas Carlyle, awakens its likeness in another mind. Translation: you need collaborators. You need people to jam with. You got to get out of the ivory tower of your solo act, if you tend to be a solo act, and mix it up among others. Connect with other people. Look for diverse inputs. Brainstorm, get feedback, whatever it takes to have your imagination, your ideas sparked by those of others, and you'll find extraordinary results are waiting. This from Martha Graham, the amazing dancer and creative luminary. There is a vitality, a life force that is translated to you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and will be lost. So she's like taking it right to us, folks. Feel the life force, feel that vitality, feel that fascination, feel that thing that moves you, and let it move you, even if it moves you off of the grid or off of the tried and true. Allow yourself to be uncomfortable and follow that feeling, because you have something to say, you have something to do, you have something to manifest here, and there's only one of you. We need it. Go for it. And do your ideas seem crazy? And do they seem lunatic fringy? And do they seem foolish? Well, of course they do. That's the nature of new ideas, especially bold ideas. Alfred North Whitehead, claimed the territory for all of us when he said almost all really new ideas have a certain aspect of foolishness when they are just produced. You need to just be able to live with that. And when people roll their eyes and look at you cockeyed and frown and fold their arms and mutter under their breath about how crazy you are and how completely impractical and unrealistic you are, that's a compliment. Because in the beginning, we need to know that we're carving out new territory, and those who are the keepers of the status quo will be threatened by your ideas. That's just the way it operates. So don't worry about that. They're doing their thing. You continue to let your genius and your imagination and your wisdom unfold. How to manifest this, how to make it real, how to get into the marketplace, you're going to figure out, but you're not going to know that right away. It takes effort. And there's Michelangelo in 4 words. Genius is infinite painstaking. It is not a magic pill. What does it take? It takes years to be an overnight sensation. When asked how he created the David, he answered in these words: I simply took away everything that wasn't. But the act of taking away everything that wasn't requires some effort, some diligence, some staying power. In those unglamorous Wednesday rainy afternoons where no one's giving you an award, no one's clapping for you, and you might be filled with doubt and terror and anxiety. Welcome to the club That's the name of the game. It's a part of the path towards manifesting your particular brand of genius. You can do this. Here's my personal favorite. Old Albert Einstein. Not everything that can be counted counts. Not everything that counts can be counted. Thus the face. And this from a man who probably had a bigger left brain than 99% of us. But he knew there was magic in the stuff that couldn't be counted, what he called mysterious. He used to conduct what he called thought experiments, a fancy name for daydreams. He let his mind drift. He couldn't prove it, not then, but he was fascinated, and he followed his fascination and led into some extraordinary places, as yours will. So don't try to measure and count everything too soon. You need a business plan, you'll get it. You'll need a strategy, you'll get it. You'll need funding, you'll get it. But in the beginning, stay open to the magic and the mystery. And it's going to get messy. And in the beginning, it may seem more like destruction than creation. In fact, that's what Pablo Picasso reminds us. The act of creation begins, first of all, as an act of destruction. You have to let go of old forms. You have to allow the past to dissolve. You have to deconstruct things and not be attached to the way things are. Tom Peters said innovation is a messy business. Another version of what Picasso is saying. It's true. So just know that that's part of the process. And when things seem to fall apart, that's normal and natural and healthy. There's actually a law of physics called the theory of dissipative structures that states things tend to fall apart only to reorganize themselves at a higher level. So know that. And when you feel besieged by the chaos and the confusion, don't entertain the worry. It will pass. John Lennon, God bless John Lennon. We all miss John Lennon. And here's one of the things he left behind for us. Life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. How I interpret this for this particular communication from me to you is that, guess what? Things are going to sneak up and surprise you. There are going to be avenues that open to you that you didn't plan on, that you only can see because you're immersed in the process. Allow those things to fascinate and draw you. Look for serendipity, look for the unexpected, look for surprise, be curious, and follow that yellow brick road. Henry Miller, an amazing writer, an amazing thinker, and an amazing creative being, understood what Picasso understood. In fact, they look a little bit alike in these two pictures. Confusion is a word we've invented for an order that is not yet understood. If you want to do anything more than simply rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic, you've got to be willing to live with some degree of confusion. You've got to allow ambiguity into the picture. Take a deep breath, commit to the long term. Don't worry about it being done by tomorrow. It's not going to be done by tomorrow. And allow a new order to take shape that can only happen when you open up to your own muse, your own inspiration, the forces of nature, of the universe, of life itself that live within you, that are guiding you to do something above and beyond the normal. So thank you, Henry Miller. And let us not forget about love, the L word, which people rarely use in business. What did Mozart have to say about it? I think we'd agree that Mozart kind of had his act together. Neither a lofty degree of intelligence nor imagination nor both together go to the making of genius. Love, love, love. That is the soul of genius. So let yourself feel the love of the project. Let yourself feel loved by the people around you. Let yourself feel the love of your future audience, of the people who are going to benefit from your project, your product, your service, your invention. And Go with that, because that's the intrinsic motivator. That doesn't need money. That doesn't need fame. That just needs to feel something powerful. And you already have it. And Mozart is simply reminding us, yes, you're going to follow a hunch. What did Jonas Salk, who brought us the polio vaccine? Intuition will tell the thinking mind where to look next. Yes, you got to follow a feeling sometimes. You have to intuit. You don't know where you're going. You're just following a hunch. And if you're going to create something new and different in this world, that intuition, that inbuilt, inbred, innate ability that we all have but has been covered up with our addiction to spreadsheets and logic and rationality and business cases, and we can just put that aside for a second, we will be guided. And then, yes, later you can build a business case and tell everybody how you did it. But let these magical moments of intuition have their impact. Will you make mistakes? Well, it all depends on what you mean by a mistake. In the world of jazz, for example, a good metaphor for the creative process, you kind of move and groove between the notes. You bend a note. A note is a transition, a bridge to another one. You don't stop and freak out and go, I blew it. You just find your way. And that ability, that fluency, that fluidity is such a gift. We all have it, but we're so strung out on our fear of making mistakes, we often don't have that power available to us. So let it go. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. You'll learn from them, and the mistakes may be gifts. What seemed to be an accident, and so many inventions, by the way, were the result of a quote unquote mistake in a lab, but had a new application that the inventor or the person in the lab noticed because they were curious and they were willing to go for the ride. So reframe your concept of mistakes. You must, as Rollo May, world-class psychologist and writer, and the author of The Courage to Create, which I encourage you to read, if you do not express your own original ideas, if you do not listen to your own being, you will have betrayed yourself. Now we're getting down to the bones. You're already thinking of some cool stuff, not just on this little webinar transmission, but every day you're walking, you're thinking, you're talking, you're imagining, you're inventing, you're conceiving, you're conjuring. They're not all great. It's probably good that you don't follow all of them, but some of them have magic. And unless you express them, unless you listen to them, you will have betrayed yourself, and that will be a regret that you will have later in life that you didn't follow that feeling. So let's remember the words of Rollo May to express and honor your own original ideas. They are not a dime a dozen, by the way, they're priceless. Linus Pauling, the one who brought us vitamin C, a chemist. The best way to get a good idea is to get lots of ideas and throw the bad ones away. Very well said, Dr. Pauling, especially since most of us are very unwilling to generate lots of ideas because we're looking for the perfect one and we're looking for it soon. So when the first half-baked, half-formed ones come out, we get nervous, we think there's nothing there, and we abandon ship. Sometimes it's the 5th, the 10th, the 20th idea that's got the juice. And the ones that precede it is just you clearing your metaphorical throat. So be willing to be abundant and generous and multi-armed. Be willing. Mozart came up with a lot of crummy pieces of music, and Einstein had some bogus theories, but they were prolific. So you need to be prolific as well, and don't worry if all your ideas aren't perfect or all your efforts aren't perfect. Let go of perfectionism. It's taken me all my life to learn what not to play, said Dizzy Gillespie. Very similar to the Michelangelo quote I cited earlier. Sometimes it's not about what you do, it's what you don't do. Creating the space in between the notes, moving more slowly, saying less, allowing pause, taking a break, giving yourself room for others and new possibilities to organically appear without trying to pull the plant out of the ground because you're impatient for it to grow. Sometimes you just need to let it happen and find the space and create the space for the music to be made. It's taken me all my life to learn what not to play. Some people have a way with words, others not have way. Steve Martin. Meaning for you, there will be a time where you will need to communicate, translate, express, state your idea, your concept, your product, your notion to somebody else. If you are not particularly skillful in making presentations, think about alternative ways of making the presentation. Maybe you don't make it by yourself. Maybe you go with an ally, a friend. Maybe it's not a live verbal presentation. Maybe it's virtual. Maybe you act it out. Maybe you bring in all kinds of bells and whistles. Maybe you bring humor into it. There are many ways to deliver the message, and your opportunities to discover the way that works for you that's going to have impact. I love his eyes, by the way. Just check out Steve Martin's eyes. That's great. Clarence Darrow, one who most people wouldn't think of as a particularly stand-up comedian or a humorist, said it this way: if you lose the power to laugh, you lose the power to think. Now that's intriguing. Laughter and thinking somehow related. Well, if you take the word aha, that breakthrough moment, the discontinuous, insightful appearance of the magical, and you take the word ha-ha, laughter, they're very, very similar in how they're written. One is A-H-A and one is H-A-H-A. There is a relationship between humor and creativity, by the way, and that's been borne out by many, many psychologists and social scientists. The same thing that evokes laughter also evokes creativity. So remember to keep light and allow laughter into your workplace and into your day-to-day operations, whatever you do. They're connected. Will this be a slam dunk done deal? No, it won't. Helen Keller, who by the way was the first blind, deaf, and mute person to graduate college ever, said it this way: security is mostly a superstition. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing. So, if you're obsessing about your cash flow or your dry cleaning or you gained 5 pounds, get off it. It's not going to be a slam dunk. You don't know if you're going to succeed, and you've got to live with that doubt. You don't have to be ruled by the doubt, but you have to be able to proceed anyway. Courage is not about proceeding in a doubt-free mode. Courage is about proceeding when there's doubt. That's what Rollo May said in Courage to Create. Again, I encourage you to read it. It will support you in your process going forward. So take a risk. Be daring. See it as an adventure. What's the alternative? Just like showing up at the job every day and yawning and having to drink cups of coffee to stay awake? Come on. Go for the adventure of it. You can do this. George Bernard Shaw, with a very fabulous beard. Few people think more than 2 or 3 times a year. I've made an international reputation for myself by thinking once or twice a week. In the spirit of George Bernard Shaw, I invite you to be aware of those ideas and thoughts that show up once or twice a week that have some glow and radiance to them. Be aware of them, capture them, write them down, put them in a little jar, put them on the wall, stick them on the refrigerator. Those are clues from your own subconscious and from the universal bank of possibility that there's something to pursue and explore. Allow yourself that luxury. Inventor Charles Kettering, yes. 99% of success is built on failure. If you're afraid to make a boo-boo, stop watching the rest of this show. It'll waste your time because there are going to be many, many boo-boos in the effort to innovate or create. It's built in. Innovators are those who proceed, who actually embrace failure. What was it the founder of IBM once said? Hurry up and make your first 500 mistakes. So you need to find a way to get into that mindset and help those people that you work with to enter into that mindset so you can be done with perfectionism and move into the domain of possibility, magic, and creativity. That's the future. That's your future if you choose it. The Duke. Yes, we live in time and space. I'm not talking about abandoning the left brain and abandoning being organized and having deadlines and timelines. As he said, without a deadline, baby, I wouldn't do nothing. So give yourself one. Give yourself a deadline. Put your stake in the ground and declare it to people. Don't keep it secret. You know, cast your line out into the future and you feel a tug. You know, that casting is like, I commit to do X by such and such a date. And keep that holy. It'll move you. If you have no end date, if you have no final goal, you'll keep making excuses and find 1,000 ways to procrastinate. Deepak Chopra, brilliant thinker, philosopher, soulful man, and a fabulous writer. We have approximately 60,000 thoughts in a day. Unfortunately, 95% of them are thoughts we had the day before. Like the rest of the geniuses and mavericks in this presentation, he's inviting you to explore the territory that might not be common knowledge to you. The shady area, the invisible area, the ignored area, the white space, the what's behind the curtain area. Be mindful of that and know that you have the potential to conceive all the brilliance that you need, but it does require that you pay attention. John Barrymore, in the lineage of Drew Barrymore, I believe her grandfather. You can only be as good as you dare to be bad. God bless John Barrymore. That's it in a nutshell. If you're going to innovate, if you're going to create, you better believe already you're going to put out some crappy stuff. You're going to get booed off the stage. People are going to look at you like you're a moron, and it's not all going to work. That's the way it is. Some people say there's no such thing as a writer, there's only rewriters, because if you want to be a good writer, you've got to have a lot of crummy drafts that just bore the hell out of you and make you want to jump off a cliff. But work with what you got and keep on refining it. Let A lead to B, lead to C, lead to Z, and off the alphabet. Be willing to be bad so that you can be really, really good. Yeah, like Winnie said, there's going to be some outrageous ideas you conceive of. Consider them. Don't dismiss them. Look for the seed of possibility in every crazy idea. It might be outlandish and easily dismissible, but if you can deconstruct it, if you can look for the essence, is there a clue hidden within it? A new direction, a new approach, a hint, a perfume of possibility, and you latch on to that, it will guide you. So don't toss out your ideas too quickly. Yes, Thomas Edison. And he gets some bad press sometime about the way he managed his operations and took credit for things that he didn't do. Whatever. You can't deny the power of this quote. The greatest invention in the world is the mind of a child. Absolutely true. And this from an inventor who had over 2,200 patents. He is paying homage to the mind of a child. All the psychologists who have studied this phenomenon bear the same thing out, and that is a human being is most creative at the age of, guess what? 5. Before, we've been conditioned and programmed and manipulated into the same old of fitting in. The child is free of that crap and able to, before the world gets a hold of him or her, to play with possibilities, be curious, and see what their parents and teachers can't see. We have to return to that state. And if you are in business, and if you are a manager or a leader, you have to make it safe for the people you work with, the people who report to you, to enter into that childlike state of discovery. That is, if you really want innovation to flourish. And there you are, and there I am, and my invitation to you is to go for it, whatever that means to you. You can see these people aren't looking at a map. They don't have a strategic plan. Maybe they've thought about it before, but they are released from the density of the daily, and they are moving towards a brighter future, compelled by a vision, free of constraint, and able to fly as you are and as I am, if you allow yourself to be guided. That's it for now. I'm Mitch Ditkoff, president and founder of Idea Champions. Our website is ideachampions.com. There's lots of interesting content and tools there. Our blog, which you can access through the website, is one of the most popular innovation blogs in the world. And if any of this intrigues you, I invite you to check all that out. If you want to contact me, please call 845-679-1066, and we can explore various ways in which Idea Champions can be of service to you. Have a great day, a great life, and thanks for listening.